What you're looking at is now a live shot of Doha, the Qatari capital, where in the last 45 minutes or so, we got the breaking news that Iran, the military and indeed the Iranian Revolutionary Guard were launching these attacks on a US base. Al Udeid is the name of the base in Qatar. And just to tell you what the Qataris are saying now, the Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari says the IRGC's attack on Al Udeid base is, quote, a violation of Qatar's sovereignty and airspace and the UN charter. He says, we in the state of Qatar reserve the right to respond directly to this blatant aggression in accordance with international law. That's a statement from the Qatari Foreign Ministry responding to the breaking news this evening. Confirmation by Iran that its military and the Revolutionary Guard are now attacking US bases in the Middle East. These are bases in Doha or just near Doha, as well as in Iraq. Some background for you. Iran had already vowed in the last 24 hours to attack American bases and military personnel in the Middle East. It followed US attacks on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities in the early hours of Sunday morning. Donald Trump, the president of the US, speaking soon after he celebrated what he said was spectacular attacks on those nuclear sites, warned Iran not to hit back by attacking any points of interest, if you will, including military bases owned by the Americans. Well, the US and the UK embassies in Qatar earlier this afternoon issued statements telling their citizens in Qatar to shelter in place until further notice. The Qatari airspace was also closed, the government saying that was done for the safety of residents and visitors. For context, if you can't fly in and out of Doha, that is huge if you're an international traveler, because many flights actually stop. Layover periods are in Qatar. Refueling often takes place as well. So at this stage, we don't even know if there are people who are South African who might be stuck at the Hamad International Airport in Doha, people who would be leaving the likes of OR Tambo, for example, to fly there or to catch a connecting flight through Doha are likely to be affected. And now we're hearing of these flares that were seen over Doha as the missile defense systems at Al Udeid Air Base were apparently seen launching into the sky. We're hearing reports that loud explosions were also heard around the capital. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard confirming it has struck the Al Udeid base. We don't know at this stage the extent of damage or indeed if there are any casualties. And before we move on from the story, I think it bears looking just at why, if you're wondering, there is a US base in the Middle East in another sovereign state. So it's a 24-hectare base, Al Udeid. It's located southwest of Doha and is the forward headquarters of the US Central Command. So CENTCOM, what it does from there is that it directs US military operations in territory stretching from Egypt in the west all the way to Kazakhstan, that's in the east. It was established through a defense cooperation agreement in 1996. And by the way, it is the Middle East's largest US base and is believed to house about 10,000 troops. So to recap on the breaking news for you tonight, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has confirmed it's launched attacks on US bases, both in Qatar and Iraq. And we've got a statement now from the group, which I will try to read as much as we can. They say, the Iranian armed forces, that quote, following the blatant military aggression of the criminal regime of the United States of America against peaceful nuclear facilities of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the blatant violation of international law, by order of the Supreme National Council and the leadership of the central headquarters of the Seal of the Prophets, they say, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has now decided to launch these attacks. And they say that what's going to happen now is that they warn what they say are the enemies of Islamic Iran, that the era of beating and confrontation has ended, and the will of the country's powerful and popular armed forces, says the statement, any repetition of mischief will lead to the acceleration of the collapse, they say, of the US military pillars in the region. The Iranians saying that their shameful escape from West Asia and the realization of common aspirations of the Islamic Ummah and the freedom-loving nations of the world in eradication of what they say is a cancerous tumor of Zion. So an escalation nonetheless in the Middle East this evening, but we're not hearing of any lives lost. It appears the Qataris had been given advanced warning that the Iranians intended to strike today in direct retaliation to actions authorized by the US President Donald Trump in the early hours of Sunday morning.